Henry Paul talks about the 3 songs that he's most proud of that he's written and 3 that he wish he had written. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music.
You'd mentioned things like The Boys of Summer, and that's certainly one of mine, but
Sunset Grill by Don Henley. I wish I had written that. Subterranean Homesick Blues. I wish I had written that. And maybe Bluebird by Stephen Stills. I certainly wish I had written that.
3 proudest moments of your songwriting. What are the 3 songs you're the most proud of?
Well, I would say Let 'Em Whirl by Black Hawk. Grey Ghost, definitely by the Henry Paul Band. And Song of the Breeze, I think, stands right there with those.
What do you think is the best album you ever made, and what was the hardest album you ever made?
The first record that you make in any band is generally your best. The first Outlaws album, the first Henry Paul Band record, the first Black Hawk record. Those 3 records are the best records I've ever made. I owe a lot of that to Paul Rothchild, who produced the first record on the Outlaws. I owe a lot of that to Ron and Howard Albert and Don Gayman, who produced and engineered the first Henry Paul Band record. And by the time I got to Nashville and made the first Black Hawk record, Van Stevenson was a very accomplished producer, and we had the head of the label, Tim Dubois, as a co-producer on the project. There was no way it was going to sound like Poopy Caca. But those 3 records are the best I ever made. And if you just held up 3 records and say, that's my life, I'd be okay with that.
Hardest record?
I would say the second Henry Paul Band record was really difficult.
Why?
It was my first attempt to produce myself. I wasn't near ready. And Joe Lala from Blues Image, who played percussion with the Bee Gees and with Stephen Stills and Crosby, Stills, Nash, he was living in Miami at the time, and Joe played on every record I made. And he said, Henry, I love you, but this record is lacking dynamic range. There's no real lows, there's no real highs, there's a lot of mids. And he was right. There's some great songs on the record, and I would say you could say it was a respectable first production as a producer, but that was the most difficult record I ever made as a producer. I was like, I don't think if you're me, I don't look at my life and find a whole lot of things to celebrate with regard to what it represents, but I do have something to show for it. And it's not money, because I'm not rich like I know some people are. I'm not that. It's not fame, because I can walk into any grocery store in the United States and spend 45 minutes and never be bothered by anybody. But I do have something to show for my life, something tangible to show for my effort. Some people, I don't care if you're a doctor or a lawyer, you have a life of productivity and of commitment and integrity, but I actually have something to show for it. And that's the gift that I was given, is the Outlaws self-titled album. Black Hawk self-titled album, the Grey Ghost album. I mean, I have those things that are products of my effort and directly reflect my commitment to music in my life. And so I have that.
But the Black Hawk album, I mean, speaking of looking like movie stars, you can look at the cover of that tall guy there that I'm talking to. You didn't get fans and come up to you in Kroger's then? I mean...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When you're on TV a lot, you get that, but I haven't been on TV in a long time, and my hair was brown and curly, and it's still curly and it's silver now. But I mean, none of that ever meant anything to me. What mattered most was just respect for my peer group.
Yeah.
I wanted people to respect my effort.
Shorts And then we'll be releasing the entire interview. It was a long hour and a half chat with Henry Paul, who was, of course, as you know, a big part of the Outlaws in their early incarnation. Then he left in the 70s, formed the Henry Paul Band, which was successful. And then the country trio Black Hawk, which still tours today. If you want information on Henry, there are links in the description. But man, in this series, does he tell good stories about knowing the Eagles, hanging out with Leonard Skinner, most notably Ronnie Van Zant, their lead singer. Working with Clive Davis, there's so much in this series. If you're a Patreon member, you'll get early access to everything on here. It's pretty juicy stuff. And he's writing a book as well. Remember to pick up a Rock History Music t-shirt and hats. You can get your own Rock History Music baseball cap now. Join our Patreon, as I said, get early access to everything. Links in the description, our TikTok, check out the Facebook group for Rock History Music. Stay in contact with us. We'd love that. All the information's in the description. I'm John Beaudin. More from Henry Paul in the next 2-3 days. This is Rock History Music.